On July 12th, the two undefeated lightweight Southpaws will collide as Shakur Stevenson defends his title against William El Cameron Zepeda. This is a matchup which puts Stevenson's slick boxing and defensive genius against Zepeda's relentless pressure and volume punching. It's a rare Southpaw vs Southpaw showdown at the elite level, which adds an extra layer of intrigue, with many calling this Stevenson's toughest test yet, and maybe for good reason. Their contrasting styles promise a fascinating chess match, with two very different opposing styles. Today in the ring, I'm going to break down each fighter's style, its skills in detail, and highlight the key tactical elements for their possible paths for victory. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Let's start off with WBC lightweight champion Shakur Stevenson. Often described as being a boxing master in the ring, he's coming into this fight with 25 wins and 12 knockouts, while he's already claimed titles in 3 weight classes, building his game on defense, ring IQ, and defensive control. Shakur's footwork is nearly impeccable at times, allowing him to shuffle just out of range of his opponent's punches, or pivoting to get into a better angle. He excels at making opponents miss by inches and then making them pay with sharp counters. In fact, this defensive smooth footwork simply makes opponents overreach, allowing him to counter with precision. His high awareness and anticipation in the ring simply puts him one step ahead, calmly dictating the pace of the fight. Stevenson's ring IQ is also off the charts in my opinion, as we've seen him completely neutralise opponents. He doesn't get drawn into wild brawls or make reckless mistakes. He sticks to strategy and forces foes to fight his fight. This is proven as he boasts the best plus-minus ratings in boxing according to CompuBox, meaning he lands far more punches than he takes, and is considered one of the hardest fighters to hit clean as well, with opponents' total punches landed being the lowest at 5.4. Shakur also has incredible punch selection, which I think he doesn't get enough credit for in my opinion. In terms of this, it's his right southpaw jab that makes a huge difference. And for the most part, it's all about controlling rhythm and range with it, either probing with it to control the space, or quick, snappy hard jabs to the body or up top to help keep them honest or make them reset their attack. But off of it, Shakur fires lightning quick straight left hands down the pipe, once again to the body or head.
Shots again. Oh, that hurt badly.
While sometimes he'll even change the trajectory, throwing it as a wide rear hook, which catches opponents completely off guard.
That close, he's in punching range. He will take some shots. He will.
He is in no way a volume puncher. Instead, it's all about accuracy and timing. When he does let his hands go, his combinations are tight and efficient, rather than wild flurries. And this measured approach means he rarely leaves himself exposed. However, it also means he doesn't typically overwhelm opponents with sheer output. He'd rather land 2 or 3 clean shots on you and get hit back by none, than throw 50 and get hit by 10 in return, which has some fans critical of his style. In terms of Stevenson's defensive mechanics, they are truly elite in my opinion, as he uses various ways and methods to stop opponents from landing, one being his lead hand. He often creates a barrier with this, as I mentioned, giving more aggressive opponents an obstacle to get past, usually resulting in them overcommitting and getting caught out by a counterpunch.
Oh, that's a good left hand.
However, more often than not, it comes down to his quick shuffling footwork, where he's able to slide out of range quickly from powerful backhand shots, before either angling out of danger or shuffling behind his jab and controlling the range. Nevertheless, at a closer range, he's also proven he can roll shots behind the shoulder roll or use waist movement to dodge wider shots from his competitors. Even when pressed, he remains poised, picking off shots with subtle head movement and glove parries. Stevenson does have a potential weakness though, it might just be that he can be overly patient or too low output at times. And although he's composed and safety first, he could possibly let some rounds become closer than they could be. We saw that against De Los Santos, where neither fighter reached double digits landed per round. But make no mistake, this conservative approach is also a testament to his ring IQ and confidence. He won't take unnecessary risks and will only strike when the opening is there. In short, Stevenson is a masterful boxer and arguably the best counterpuncher in the sport right now, with top tier footwork, sharp punch selection and airtight defense. His goal on July 12th will be to control the tempo and keep the fight at his range, and systematically pick Zepeda apart while minimizing the incoming fire. Across the ring, we'll have a very different kind of southpaw, in William El Cameron Zepeda, who comes in with an undefeated 33-0 record and 27 knockouts. and a reputation as one of the lightweight division's most relentless pressure fighters. And Zepeda fights with an all-action style that couldn't be more different than Stevenson's measured approach. He's known to throw over 1,000 punches in a fight routinely, thus proving his astonishing work rate. In 2022, he set a CompuBox record, throwing 1,536 punches over 12 rounds, averaging 128 punches per round.
These punch stats, 335 punches thrown by William Zepeda, 146 landed through 3 rounds. Unbelievable numbers that we're seeing right now.
And simply put, Zepeda brings the heat as soon as that opening bell rings. In terms of his style, it's built off a constant forward pressure and volume punching. He looks to apply that suffocating pace so you get drawn into a battle on the inside. For the most part, he is very front-footed and will step to his opponent with hard single southpaw jabs. I will say he's aggressive, but not entirely reckless, as he will look to land with it or occupy the guard as he tries to get into range, while he often has a reach advantage over many of his opponents, and in fact will have a 2-inch reach advantage over Stevenson. And once he actually gets in range, he'll look to throw 4 to 5 punch combinations, throwing hooks, uppercuts, and plenty of ripping body shots. In fact, I'd say this is a trademark move of Zepeda, is that commitment to the body, as we've seen him early in the round put all his efforts in breaking down the body, as he looks to invest downstairs and wear his opponent down. He throws these punches in high volume, aiming to break down his opponent's foundation. If they keep their guard up high, he simply targets the body, forcing them to lower their defense, creating an opening for his head attacks.
Ooh, Zepeda now with a couple of body shots now, in combination and to the head as well.
In fact, in his most recent fight versus Farmer, this was something he started with straight away in a non-stop assault, almost taking him out in the early rounds. One thing is for sure, Stevenson will need to be ready for this. The other great thing about Zepeda's style, he does have a diverse punch selection, as he's continuously mixing up his punches, ensuring the same spot is never hit twice in a row. You just need to watch his fight versus Britain's Maxi Hughes, where he completely broke him down by mixing the head and body shots gradually, simply to the point where the pressure and punch output continually put Hughes onto the back foot and into a defensive shell, leaving his corner no choice but to throw in the towel. And this is a recurring theme of Zepeda. He might not be a one-punch knockout artist, but every single punch he throws has mean intentions and wears you down. In fact, this could be a lot worse for some opponents. In terms of his defense, opts for a mobile high guard, usually looking to block and deflect punches off it, while we've also seen him go into an L guard stance and roll shots before getting out of danger with feet, before immediately getting right back into the action. But he is more defensively aware than people give him credit for. While I will say he does also have a very good chin, as he's shown he's been able to take some huge punches and continuing to push through it.
Someone like Zepeda. Oh, big right hand for Diaz, best punch of the fight.
However, there is no denying there is weaknesses to his style. He can lunge in sometimes with that jab and get caught out. While we saw in the first fight with Tevin Farmer, he got a bit overzealous and was dropped by a well-timed counterpunch, and it proved that an intelligent boxer can time and counter him coming in. So while Zepeda's defense is good at times, it's his offense that really shines through. It'll be interesting to see if his style will work against Stevenson, and if he'll go with a gun-ho approach, or maybe try to take his time, looking for the right moment to unleash an onslaught. Another key subplot in this fight is both men are southpaws, a rare matchup at the elite level. Typically, orthodox fighters struggle with southpaws due to the unfamiliar angles, but in this case those angles cancel out. The usual lead foot battle isn't as prominent, and both fighters will be trading right jabs and left hands from the same stance. Southpaw versus southpaw bouts can sometimes turn into chess matches, as we saw Stevenson's last fight against De Los Santos, with neither guy wanting to lead. But stylistically, Zepeda isn't that guy, and won't sit back. He's the kind of southpaw who will force action regardless of the opponent in front of him, and that alone will shift the dynamic in my opinion. There are still tactical wrinkles. Stevenson's use of the L guard stance may come in handy, while his straight left may land more cleanly against the fellow lefty. But you'll also have to deal with Zepeda's left hand coming from angles and to the body he often doesn't face. But I also think that lead right hooks from either fighter could become a key weapon at mid-range. While footwork will matter too, as they'll need to get into a better position to land the backhand, which could give either man the edge. It's subtle, but whoever wins this battle with the feet could land the cleaner shots, While Stevenson's last southpaw opponent made a dull affair, however his previous southpaw clash versus Jermell Herring showed what he can do against a lefty at his very best. And Zepeda might just fit that mould, as he's not the best going backwards, as he'll no doubt give Stevenson plenty to counter him with. But in the end, the stance is just a layer. The real story in this fight is whether the Matador or the Bull will dictate the terms of this fight. Let's look at Stevenson's keys to victory. I think controlling the distance and pace are going to be key, especially with his superior footwork and probing jab, to create a barrier against Zepeda, forcing him to overreach with his punches, and could lead to those counter-punching opportunities. I think lateral movement from Stevenson will also be key, circling and pivoting out the corners to prevent Zepeda from setting on his feet and unleashing his punches in volume. The slower technical pace favours Shakur's style, so if he can land some nice counters and keep Zepeda honest, it could just work in his favour. Speaking about counters, I think that will earn his respect. Zepeda can lunge forward with that jab, and Stevenson must make him look to pay with those precise counters, either with the check right hook or a roll and counter left hand if Zepeda overcommits with his left. While a nice counter that might set up Zepeda up is the left uppercut, something Tevin Farmer took advantage of, as Zepeda is quite front foot heavy leaning over and showed that this punch can get through. A defense-first approach will also be important. As much as this might disappoint some fans, he must avoid the prolonged exchanges with someone like Zepeda. Standing toe-to-toe for long periods gives Zepeda every chance to land some hard shots to the body or even up top. And although Stevenson can be okay in the inside at times, it's simply not worth having this battle against a superior fighter here. I also think it's just about staying composed, something Shakur Stevenson is so good at. I think the majority agree Zepeda will try and make it a rough, high-pressure fight. And I think it's about Stevenson slowing down Zepeda as the fight goes on, as he starts to pick up his own offense and dominate down the stretch, picking him apart with his own quick combinations and accurate punches, while also looking to chip away at the body of Zepeda, especially against Zepeda's high guard defense, which will leave openings downstairs for him. Stevenson showed his elite body punching in his last fight versus Padley, and he may have to target this to stop Zepeda's onslaught.
Stevenson targeting the body.
You gotta get a bit of distance here.
Stevenson will win the fight if it's his fight. A measured, tactical contest, rather than getting drawn into Zepeda's war. For Zepeda, I think it's obvious. Relentless pressure and volume. He has to find a way to make Shakur uncomfortable and put him into close exchanges. In the first Tevin Farmer fight, for example, he was far too cautious in the beginning rounds. In the second, he had a much faster start, giving Farmer hardly any time to think or react, only to try get out the way of his punches, which naturally made him work more and create openings for body shots. However, Stevenson is a much better defensive fighter, with much more efficient footwork and sharper counters, so he will need to be careful. Even if many of his punches are missed or blocked, the volume in itself can win the favour of some of the judges and prevent Stevenson from getting comfortable. I think one of the keys as well will be cutting off the ring, and perhaps the most important part, Zepeda needs to find a way to trap Stevenson in spots where he simply can't glide away or pivot out to a different angle. But unfortunately for Zepeda, he might have to take one to trap and neutralise Shakur's mobility. We saw this well in his fight versus Maxie Hughes, who also ran out of room, forcing him to stand his ground at times, which in turn allowed Zepeda to unleash his volume punches. The next obvious path is to invest to the body. And this is a pressure fighter's best friend at times, especially against a mover like Shakur. Hard hooks to the ribs, arms and midsection, or even borderline shots, and in volume, might just make Stevenson drop his elbows just enough, or create openings up top. And if he's able to land some clean shots, it may force Stevenson to stand in the pocket a little bit more. And just going off history, Zepeda has shown he's excellent at this. But he'll need to be careful not to get countered himself, targeting downstairs too often. Finally, I think the consistency is going to be key. Zepeda needs to keep up this volume punching, aggressive approach for all 12 rounds. He can't afford to fight in spurts, or have moments of uncertainty, or even lulls in action, as this benefits Shakur to get off his work or set up counters. I think maintaining that high work rate and closing the range as much as possible will be essential to have any chance in this fight. He needs to make Stevenson tired mentally and physically. In other words, this has to be a high pressure dogfight from Zepeda. Overall, this is a compelling clash of styles. Tactically, it's the classic Bull versus Matador matchup, but with a Southpaw versus Southpaw twist. Will it be Shakur Stevenson's slick footwork, supreme defense and ring IQ to stop the bulldozer approach from Zepeda? Or will William Zepeda's non-stop pressure, volume punching and body attacks actually break through the slick defense of Stevenson? Stylistically, this could be a very ebb and flow fight, or a complete domination. Hope you enjoyed this breakdown. Let's hear your thoughts and predictions in the comments below. Make sure to watch this fight live in DAZN pay-per-view alongside Berlanga vs Shiraz. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.
Yeah.